Hello, welcome to our EV Ready Building session discussing the installation of EV charging infrastructure. This video aims to help anyone interested in the process of installing EV chargers do so with minimal risk. I'm joined by David Levine, who has gone through this process in his own building, Ross Durango, an electrical engineer with specific EV experience, and Scott McLaren, an electrician and EV charging infrastructure installer. Scott, first questions to you. What should buildings consider when their EV infrastructure is being installed?
Good question. So during the installation phase, there's a couple of main things we have to consider, and they're the operational aspect of it and the logistical aspect of it. Now, what we're talking about here is installing infrastructure right the way through the entire car park and venturing into privately owned car spaces as well. Now, we want to try and make that process as seamless as possible for everyone, but the only way to really make it fully seamless is to have a proper plan in place. So by forward planning, speaking with owners corporations, speaking with owners, speaking with tenants and residents of the building, and working out exactly how we're going to roll that backbone out through the building and what access we're going to need into those buildings. Another important thing as well is just to understand that during the installation process, there may be times where you can't just jump in your car and drive out straight away. You may have to give us 10 minutes because we may be set up in the middle of the car park. We may have ladders and stuff there. If we are working there, we'll have the area cordoned off. So taking into account the fact that there is going to be that little bit of leeway required for us to physically do the work. The obvious one here as well is that we're talking about upgrades to the electrical infrastructure in the building, right? At some point, that power is going to have to be switched off so that we can work on it safely, right? Again, that can be sort of mitigated by forward planning, notices on common area boards, letters through people's doors, emails, text messages, just making everyone aware that it's happening, and also trying to plan it at a time that suits the building where that's less likely to impact people. That's usually very early in the morning before anyone has actually gone out of bed. And usually the residents in the building don't even notice that it's happened. But again, that can only happen with really carefully planned process. The other one, and this is a big one, is that the nature of the work that we are doing involves a lot of drilling into concrete slabs. Now, concrete slabs in apartment complexes, generally speaking, have rebar throughout them, which, when you drill into it, reverberates through the whole building. There is going to be noise, there is going to be dust, and there's things we can do to mitigate that, but we can never get away from it. So I think the important message there is just be kind to your contractor. We're trying our best. But again, that's all mitigated just with open communication with the owners corporation and residents and anyone else who wants to get involved in that conversation, and just some really strategic forward planning.
I might just note it's considerations like that, which are all completely valid, that are part of the reason that the National Construction Code now requires EV readiness in new buildings. The easy time to install this kind of backbone infrastructure is when the building is being built. For the legacy building stock, all of what Scott's just covered off is the kind of thing that electricians will be working through for decades in our existing buildings.
And I realise it's going to be different for different buildings, but how long can people expect an EV upgrade to take place?
How long is a piece of string is not the answer you wanted. So that depends on a few factors. It depends on how well the owners corporation can work with the contractor, how open that communication is the first point. And secondly, well, the short version is, as long or as quick as you would like it to take. If you're happy to move every vehicle out of the car park and give us access, 24/7 access to the car park, and no one's going to be driving in and out, it can be a fairly quick process. But if there are obstacles that we have to get over, like noise restrictions, noise restrictions like safety barriers, etc., and allowing people to come and go, that process is going to get longer and longer for every barrier that you put in front of us there. So the short answer is as long or as quick as you would like it to be.
David, how did the installation process go for your building?
Our first installation was fairly straightforward until we got to closing off the last bits and pieces to make the solution work properly. So it did take a lot longer than we expected, around about 2 months in all. The second installation, which is the backbone infrastructure, that's currently underway. It's taken about 2 months longer than we thought because of the lack of some materials needed at the time. So we've been waiting on that. Everything that Scott has said I can relate to, and we were fortunate in that we have a building manager, being a very big building. We have a building manager who himself is a tradie, and he worked exceptionally well to facilitate interaction between the contractor and the owners and the residents in the building.
So what kind of issues did you face during the installation?
Just delays in parts, and we had one electrician drill into a gas pipe, but hey, these things happen. Nothing serious though.
What kind of components were installed as part of your infrastructure upgrade?
Okay, for the upgrade, new distribution boards, cable trays, cables. I'm thinking of all the electrical stuff. We added a CT meter to that. That was our specification. And then on the comm side, we had to install a new landline internet connection, Cat 6 cables, Wi-Fi repeaters throughout the building. 16, I think.
Does that sound pretty common from what you've been doing?
I was just about to say you pretty much nailed the components of what makes up an EV charging backbone. That's pretty spot on, yeah.
During the installation in your building, did any owners choose to install EV chargers?
Some have chosen to install. Those will be installed shortly. So we have 5 EVs in the building at the moment, and 2 have chosen to go ahead with installations shortly.
Great. Did you install an energy management system?
We have several energy management systems in the building, no one overarching one. We have one which monitors the solar and the batteries. We have a separate one which manages the whole building in total. And then we have CT meters, which are many energy management systems. These are more energy monitoring systems than management systems, other than the batteries, which you can control.
Anything you'd like to add?
I mean, there's energy management, and then we have to talk about load management as well, right? Because I think they both go really closely hand in hand. Both equally as important, but I think specifically we were talking about retrofitting into existing buildings. It's really important that we consider and implement load management systems to avoid the situation where we do have multiple EV chargers installed on the backbone that we can get remotely close to overloading the building, which is essentially what we're trying not to do, right? So I think it's important to recognise that load management systems have an importance in these buildings as well as energy management and sort of the data side of that.
Yeah. Maybe if we draw a distinction, there's systems that monitor energy use and provide reporting so that an owner's corporation can make decisions about what things might need to be replaced or changed and when. And then there's the sorts of systems that we're talking about in EV, which are about actively controlling the EV load. The goal of that control is to make sure that the next morning, everyone's car is ready to take them wherever it wants to go, but that also we don't have a whole pile of EV charging load turn up at the same time as everyone's running their air conditioning and cooking their dinner. Because it's that coincidence of load that will cause a need for upgrades and drive up cost, and at wider scale cause other problems. So that load management system as part of the install, really important to think about, especially if you've got a building that has limited available capacity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that in mind, Ross, what kind of things do buildings need to look for to ensure that the infrastructure is installed properly?
Sure. So if you're thinking about after the installation's done, has it been done to the standard expected? Now, Scott is an electrician, right? So he will look at a distribution board or an installation and say, yes, it's correct, no, it's not, based on his expertise. Most people don't have that expertise. So their assessment of the physical infrastructure will probably be limited to, does it look neat and tidy, right? Is there an absence of wires hanging out that clearly should have been closed off or capped somewhere? The physical side is generally covered in regulation by the Certificate of Completion of Electrical Work. In New South Wales, if you're an electrical contractor doing work, you're required to do a particular piece of paper. The owner's corporation should have a copy of that at the end of the job because it is the legal assertion that the job was done correctly. Beyond the simple physical though, right? So it doesn't do the owner's corporation any good if it is physically installed correctly but does not work. What's important for the consumer is it works as intended. There's no substitute there for a practical test. Once it's installed, bring in some cars, try it out, make sure it works. It's also worth giving consideration to what might go wrong in future that you expect the system to withstand. Power outages happen from time to time. Does the system recover from a power outage? These are the kinds of things that can be tested as part of acceptance and then payment to the contractor for his work.
I think another important part of that when we're talking about has the installation been done to code and is it compliant and whatnot is by the introduction of future planned maintenance and operations sort of procedures that we're going to put in place for the ongoing maintenance and repairs or potential repairs of the system. That would be, generally speaking, where any non-compliance would be flagged and then could retrospectively be amended.
That's great. Thank you very much.